Good morning. Uh, the last several weeks, we have heard stories of Chris, Kristen, and Terry, and how their journeys have led them here to First Congregational. My story is a little different because I have literally been a member of this church my whole life. When my parents moved to Appleton in the 1950s, it was important to them to find a church that they could agree on. They both came from strong church backgrounds. My dad was raised very Lutheran, and my mom even more Baptist. Her grandfather was a very strict Baptist minister. Neither of them was going to switch to the others. But they were both pretty progressive thinkers. So when they found this church, the Church of the Open Door, they knew it was right for them, and they joined in 1957. I was born 4 years later, and I was baptized into this church in April of 1962. I have wonderful memories of growing up in this church. I remember the big red brick church on Oneida Street. I have silly memories of that church, like the church kitchen that I thought always smelled like chicken casserole, even on Sunday mornings, and soft velvet pew cushions. I still have a pew marker from that church, and I think others of us have those. I went to Sunday school starting in that building and continuing into this one. In 1968, I was only about 6 years old, but I remember walking from the service that started in that old building and walked to this new one to finish the service here. I remember walking with my mom and wondering what the people in the houses along the way were thinking. Did they know why we were walking, where we were going? All the thoughts of a 6-year-old. I continued through the church school program and was confirmed here in 1977 by Reverend Maynard Beamer. My parents were both very active here, but especially my mom. This was a special place for her. This was her circle, this was her village. And if she wasn't home, she was probably here. I have wonderful memories of helping her with all kinds of church projects, but especially the home tour that was a huge part of the life of this church through the 1980s. This church was important to both of my mom and dad, and they chose to be in the memorial garden here, and I come often just to be with them. So while this was my church then, because of the choice my parents made, I chose to remain a member because I knew I belonged here. Most important to me was the message of inclusiveness and acceptance of all. Jeff and I were married here in 1991 by Reverend Jane Terry, and shortly after, Jeff also joined. And we raised our sons in this church. Both of them were baptized and confirmed here. You can see that First Congregational is a big part of my story. This is where I learned about God, where my relationship with God was formed and deepened. This is where I learned that I could trust God and I could ask questions. Throughout my life, there have been times when I've sat in these seats and said, "Please help me, God," especially when my mom died, or when I've asked God why, and many times when I've said, "Thank you, God." I've been both a child of this church and an adult. But no matter where I've been on my life journey, I know I can bring whatever I'm feeling here. I support this capital campaign and the annual stewardship drives because I want to be part of ensuring that First Congregational will continue to be the welcoming, inclusive, and accepting church of the open door, now more important than ever. I support this church because I want First Congregational to be part of all of our stories, whether it's a 64-year story like mine, or a 64-day story like someone new, or anything in between, or maybe even the story of someone yet to start their story here. Thank you.